What up, everybody? I'm your host, JP. This is my co-host, Josh.
Hey, everyone.
And welcome back to another episode of the FIlmBros podcast. All right, y'all. What's going on, everybody? So today, the discussion, the topic, what we're going to be doing, we're going to be talking about a movie. Not just any movie. In my opinion, a movie that made a comeback for the franchise, gave it a good opening, one of the best openings for the franchise in recent years. Honestly, has a great cast, has everything that you want in this franchise. Josh, if you would like to go ahead and let us know what movie we are reviewing today.
The movie we're reviewing is Ghostbusters Afterlife 2021.
Troubled by strange noises in the middle of the night.
You experience feelings of dread in your basement or attic?
Have you or any of your family ever seen a spook, specter, or ghost?
Who are you gonna call?
Ghostbusters. We're ready to believe you.
All right, guys. So, like I said, phenomenal. Honestly, in my opinion, one of those great comeback stories from Sony with this movie. Ghostbusters Afterlife was a movie that honestly got downplayed hella hard when it was coming up. I remember it was kind of like a iffy. Now, you got to understand, Ghostbusters franchise has not honestly had the best track record. We got Ghostbusters 1, 2, and 3, and then they try to make a comeback with the all-female one.
Yeah, the all-female one. I can't even remember when that came out.
I think it was 2014. It was in 2014 or
time
something.
ago.
Yeah, and it was like an all Melissa McCarthy was in it, I think.
They tried to redo it, but with females.
Yeah, that chick from
that one didn't work.
It really did not stick at all. Honestly, I don't think anybody. I think it was like completely trashed.
Yeah,
and
no.
So, we there's always a reason why it didn't do good. That one just did not. So, coming off the heels, Sony was like, okay, we got to think of a way to bring it back. How do we breathe life into it? So they put Paul Rudd in the movie. So they wound up adding great cast, honestly, studded cast. We got Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things, Paul Rudd, like I said, McKenna Grace, Celeste O'Connor. We got the OGs making a little return. Sigourney Weaver kind of made a little appearance. J.K. Simmons was in there for a little bit as well. On the tomato meter, this movie got a 63%, not certified fresh, but fresh as it is, I guess, with a 94% audience score. And we could agree with that, right?
Yeah, I guess that sounds more of on the side that liked it. Critics, for some reason, critics suck. I'll say it. I don't really care. I've said it multiple times. They don't. I feel like they don't get what movies are because that system is probably outdated that they're using. But the audience score sounds about right because it was really good. It's a really good movie.
Yeah, I would say a 94 would be meet in the middle. I would say a good tomato score for this movie probably would have been like a 85. But we'll see how we get to that point and what we do. Like I said, stellar cast. Now this movie, because of the poor reception that the last Ghostbusters got, didn't really have that great of a budget, but they did give them a pretty decent amount, and $75 million, nothing to sneeze at. 75 million is still a lot of money. A good blockbuster movie usually typically takes like about 90 to 100 million to even call itself a blockbuster movie. You know what I mean? But with a budget of 75 million, this movie wound up raking in 204.4 million worldwide. So really came up with this installment, and automatically Sony said, "Hey, we're getting another one." And that one has a running title called Firehouse. It barely started shooting. It's in the middle of shooting right now. But yeah, I mean, deserve sequel, or what? What do you think?
Oh, for
from
sure.
what you've seen in this one?
Well, for sure. I mean, I think this movie can, or this franchise can benefit from another maybe trilogy, whenever that comes out. A sequel sounds good though. I can't knock it for that. Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll do a trilogy like usually
Well,
studios do, unless you're the Fast franchise.
Oh well, Fast franchise doesn't do trilogies. It does 10 movies straight, and then breaks the 10th one into 2 parts. But I think this franchise could totally benefit from another 2 movies. It'd be really cool. Because Ghostbusters, yeah, like everyone knows the first one, and then I haven't seen the second or third one, or I don't even know if they did a third one. But I haven't seen the other 2, is what I'm saying.
Oh, you haven't seen the second and third?
I've seen the original.
Oh, okay.
And that's about it. And then so I understand the gist of it, of what was going on. I don't think it was too heavy to leaning on the other 2 or the OG trilogy, other than the first one, because they pretty much only mention the first one.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I can really enjoy it if they do make more, because this was a fun time. I had fun watching this movie.
Yeah, it was a great movie. I thought it was fun. So with that, we see the gang. We wound up following, just to give you guys a little bit of what the movie's about. We got the original crew that are basically following the events that happened in the second part, Ghostbusters 2. I guess they completely retconned the third one, or I don't even know if there's a third one technically. I don't know. I know there was an animated one. I gotta do my research on these Ghostbusters ones, but older movies. I know that they go off the second one to this one. There's a lot of callbacks to both movies within this movie. We see a family move into a house trying to discover what happened to their father. Wound up getting caught into some paranormal shit, and yeah, the movie goes on. Now, though I did like this movie, Josh, now that we can start diving a little bit deeper into this, though I did like this movie, I will say there was a couple things that didn't really flow well, I guess you could say.
I mean, honestly, yeah, maybe a few things here and there. Nothing really too big, I don't think.
Elaborate.
Well, okay. Spoiler.
Well, let's go ahead and hit the good parts then. If there's not really too much bad for you, I don't want to shit on the movie so early. So let's hit those good notes. What do you think the good notes of the movie were?
Oh man. Well, a lot of it was, I liked the story for most of it. The plot for me was really good. The characters were fine. I'm not too sure about what's his name, the teenage boy from Stranger Things. I don't know what
Finn.
it is. Yeah, I don't know what it is about him as an actor, but he kind of just, to me, I feel like he's always kind of playing that asshole for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is, because even in Stranger Things, like in the first few seasons, I'm sorry, I know this is like a side tangent, but regarding his acting career, when he was young, he did fine, but in the fourth one, he's kind of a dick, and I don't know if that's kind of his shtick right now, because he was also kind of a dick in the It franchise too. So that's what his character was. So I don't know what it is, but his acting kind of rubs me the wrong way. He did fine in this one. The cast was fine. I really liked Paul Rudd. He was one of the highlights. I really enjoyed the nostalgia factor, I guess you can call it. You know what I mean? Like I know I obviously wasn't around when the first one came out, but watching this one really made me feel like, damn, they are really diving deep into the nostalgia, which is really great for a movie like this. It's like another legacy sequel that you can kind of really enjoy. Yeah.
Lots of, I think that was one of the things that really popped out, because for you haven't seen this. I honestly have seen this movie a few times, and being able to watch it and being able to go, oh yeah, there's that and everything, I think that really carried the movie the first couple times around.
Yeah.
And after watching it a few more times, I was able, to look at it and actually analyze without the nostalgia factor. But I think they do cover it with a good blanket of nostalgia that makes it even better, if that makes sense. And I don't knock it for that. If you can honestly, if I could sit in a theater, because I think we did watch this one in a theater. If I could sit there and I can overlook the stuff that that's bothering me, because you can stick some nostalgia right there.
Yeah,
I'm always happy for it. I don't want to give out too much away, because one of the aspects of the movie kind of revolves around nostalgia in a way, so I don't want to go dive too deep on what kind of nostalgia things you will see within this movie if you haven't seen this movie. We will kind of touch on spoilers a little bit, but we'll try to avoid the big plot holes. Not plot holes, but big plots. Plot points. What do you think of the cast though? How do you think of the cast's chemistry? Did you feel? Did you feel that? I know you said individually, Finn, right? You didn't really like him as the asshole, but did you feel like as a dynamic with everybody else it bounced off well?
Yeah, that's why. Like as a dynamic, he did fine, but like his character alone, kind of just like if he rubs me the wrong way. I don't know what it is. It's very off-putting to like.
We get it. You don't like the kid, but did he at least mix well?
Well,
with
that's
the
what I
rest?
said. Yes,
Yeah.
I said that. And
Okay.
that was like the first thing I said before you decided to cut me off again. Because even when he was like, he's like one of the main characters with the daughter. So, like his little sister, like their chemistry worked very well. Like they had some very funny parts. The sister bonding, the sister's role and bouncing off with people like the kid podcast and then the teacher, she did really well for someone so young. I think
I was gonna say I think she was the highlight of the movie.
she did really well.
Like every single time I see her, and like it's goofy and it's dumb, but she makes like these stupid jokes within the movie. I'm just like, I find it funny and charming because of the way she delivers it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it hasn't gotten old. Like I told you, you've seen it for the first time. But like I've seen it multiple times, and every single time her charm just never ceases to amaze me. And I honestly, I don't even know like where else she's been featured in. Do you know?
No, not that I know.
McKenna Grace, that's her name. Oh, she's been in Frankenstein, the Scoob movie. She was Daphne's voice in the Scoob movie. Annabelle Comes Home. Oh yeah, she was the daughter in that one. Very good. Young Carol and Captain Marvel. Did not know that. Crazy. But yeah, so she I thought she was a highlight. McKenna Grace, I was like, man, like good thing they put her in the movie. And I think honestly, I love Paul Rudd, and he's kind of dipping into the reason why I didn't really like the movie at the same time, but I really like Paul Rudd's and her relationship for sure. Like I feel like they really meshed well together on screen. Though little hint, but we'll dive deeper into what I feel about Paul Rudd later on. But I think as a cast as a whole, I think everybody did well. I think the mom did phenomenal as well to convey a bunch of emotion. Having to feel anger towards, her father, but also juggle the responsibilities of a mom and do all these things. I honestly felt like every actor was playing the role 100%, and it was just I honestly don't think anybody missed throughout the movie. I think everybody hit every single note.
Honestly,
sure.
yeah, that's how I kind of felt. Everyone kind of did their own thing, and
Almost.
Well, maybe almost did their own thing. No real big complaints other than Wolfhard, I guess. Because even everyone seemed to just like bounce off each other kind of well. So you can't really knock any of them for that, because they do well. If you can make believe that this kid and this actor are like real siblings, and that this kid can get along with another weirdo kid, like it's very nice.
It is very nice. A lot of the environments, the sets, I guess we can start going into like cinematography wise, but like when I first watched the movie, I didn't think the whole dirt and when I was first sitting there when we seen that they were in the dirt and everything. I think the first scenes in the beginning, you see that setting at nighttime, and you see like dirt, dust coming up and everything. I'm like, this is not going to be a good setting for for a movie. You know what I mean? Especially
yeah.
when you want to try to capture beauty, I guess you can say. Usually when it comes to Ghostbusters, they're in New York City. You know what I mean? Very well lit. Very even in the 2014 one with the girls, they were in New York City, where well lit. Streets of New York, whatever.
Yeah.
So it was a different setting in this one, and at first I didn't feel good about it, but like after sitting throughout the movie and those little scenes where they actually hit those emotional points, and I know that chase when they were doing when they were in the Ghostbusters car and they had the little drone right there and they were showing the sunset and everything. Even when Wolf Finhart was with that one chick on that one mountain or whatever, like I honestly thought that it made for. I think the director Reitman really found the angles to really make it shine and pop, especially with the sunset. Like when he was able to capture that sunset, he put that shit everywhere to make that shit look beautiful. And honestly, usually people would be like, that's kind of overused, but I think he kind of sprinkled it in and used it effectively. And I honestly thought at the end of the movie, I was just like, okay, all right. At first I wasn't on board, but after a while I was like, okay, yeah, I dig it just a little bit.
I think that setting and all that really worked for the movie because at the same time it was trying to be creepy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was trying to be very eerie and creepy, and what's more creepy than the middle of the desert? Or the house in the middle of a desert.
I guess so.
And then an old mining shaft, which is also very creepy. As far as cinematography goes, I really like the action scenes, or I guess you can call them action scenes. Every time they were chasing a ghost or something like that, I think the camera and action worked very well. There's not one piece where I was like, ew, that looked funky, because a lot of it worked very well. They got creative with the car and chasing down the ghosts and other things like that. So no real big complaints there. They really do bring out the fucking scenery and that shit.
Yeah,
like a very Western vibe, if that makes any sense. Because it's like middle of nowhere, small town, like that's what Western shit was made on. You know? Like taking it a step further to talk about the house that the family inherits because of their grandpa's death. I really liked how detailed it was.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed how every little thing was just scattered around with ghost mappings and shit like that. To really cement who their grandfather was, and then had maps of the valley that they lived in and whatnot, and then it also did very well portraying again the eerie effect, because it was a shady ass house in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
Also very inconspicuous because he did have all that shit set up anyway. But more on that later about what I'm talking about. But I think the cinematography, the sets, they all really got it right. I don't think you could have captured it again, because then you do it in New York, you're like, damn, they're in New York again.
Well, not really. Well, because I like that play on that they do in the original, where like they're in New York and they were still able to keep that scary factor, kind of like what they did with Scream 6 too, where where they were in New York and they were still able to keep that suspense and everything, because even though people were around, like it was kind of like spooky, you know what I mean, because people are around but yet nobody's really paying attention until it's time. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah.
So in the original Ghostbusters with New York, they were like, I like the way that they played on it, and though they played on it really well in this movie as well, because they juggled the comedy with the goofiness of Ghostbusters with that horror element and everything, and I thought they played it well done. In this one, I just you kind of miss that feeling of New York, because they made it make sense for the movie, and they explained it in the movie well, like why they're not in New York anymore and why he left New York. Like I said, it does connect to the originals. So if you guys want to watch it, I don't want to give too much, but I guess, damn, I kind of lost my my train of thought trying to avoid spoilers.
What I was saying was that, like, because think about it, the first two were in New York, right? Mm-hmm. You had the marshmallow dude, and then the second one had the Statue of Liberty, right? Mm-hmm. and then that remake also was in New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see it. I didn't see that one, so I can't really talk about it. But I feel like it was there.
It was there.
Okay, because they were trying to reboot, which makes sense. And this one, I think for on a smaller setting, also worrying about where you are and the small town and whatnot. I think that secludedness really cements it better than having to do New York again or someplace big like that.
I think it was the change it needed. I will say that. I think it was the change it needed because, I think you're right. It was in New York all the time. Kind of like Scream 6 where, they were like, oh, Woodsboro, let's switch sceneries. And, you know what I mean? So that's kind of what they did with this one where they switched the whole scenery. And they did that thing where they were like, we're going to make it different. Not too different. So, like, they still kept that silly tone and everything. They carried that from New York over here. So, it worked well. I liked it. And for them to play on it as eerie and scary as they did in the beginning. And, honestly, camera work was great, especially on those chase scenes. Camera work was amazing. CGI was bonkers. I love the way the ghosts looked. The updated version of those blorp ghosts in the first one, man, I love the way they look in this movie. I think they did a phenomenal job with that shit.
Yeah, I think there was only a couple times where it was like the CGI looks really bad, and it involved those two creatures,
the dogs, and I think that was a budget issue because they also had actual practical ones. So like when you could tell when they were practical and you can tell when they were kind of like, CGI. Obviously, you can usually tell.
Yeah.
But, when it was in the store, it was practical. So they used as much practical effects as they could, kind of like what they did with the OG. It's just eventually it just couldn't, you know what I mean?
The money can't hold it together.
Exactly. That, like I said, they didn't even give them $90 million. They just said, here's 75, give us a compelling Ghostbusters movie, and
honestly, they came out very well.
Yeah.
So, like, the sequel was well deserved. It just, those were probably the only times involving those dogs where I was like, "Ew, this looks funky." Because, like, even the first time they use it in the beginning of the movie, semi spoilers, but like when he's trying to activate the trap and he has the beams going in the sky, I like, damn, that looks really fucking good.
Yeah.
And
the lasers, huh?
Mm-hmm.
The from the what they call the backpacks.
Yeah, the fucking their backpacks.
Yeah.
The
ectopacks.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, they looked cool, and then I think the beginning really cemented for me that this movie was gonna, because like the beginning doesn't really match the rest of the movie. I don't think, like when he's being chased by the ghost and shit.
Mm-hmm.
More spoilers, sorry, but. Like, when he's being chased, you're just like, damn, what the fuck is chasing him? This is a big-ass thing.
Yeah.
And then, something, so on and so on goes on, and something happens, which I don't know if we'll cover, but go see the movie for yourself if you really want to see what happens next. But, other than that, no real CGI problems. Everything else kind of looked really well. Even when the ghost was, like, moving through real people and things, you were kind of just like, damn, that looks really good.
Yeah.
It came out good.
I honestly don't think we have any more praises to go around because I kind of want to start digging into what didn't work for the movie. And I think one of the things that worked for it but didn't work for it was Paul Rudd. I think him going full bonkers didn't help with the movie at all. It kind of took me out of the experience sometimes. Like when he was in the store and he was walking around, the way he was walking, and I know it's because, obviously, in the movie a ghost winds up taking over his body at the time, and so I kind of understand why they did it, but there was times where it was just too much for me. I was just like, oh, okay, I get it. They're trying to make him look goofy, but I just think he went too full bonkers, and I was just like, kind of went a little too far.
Both of those things didn't really work for me though. Like I didn't enjoy that the dogs took over the Paul Rudd's character and the mom's character, and then they had to make them like mate and whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't like that whole aspect either. I was kind of like, damn, this looks bad. This sounds bad. Even their CGI eyes was fucking tough to stare at.
Yeah.
So I was just like, man, that looks so wrong. Paul Rudd's character to me was kind of without. I think he just needed a bit more depth because, like, I think there should have been more to him than he's a teacher, or he's a summer school teacher, and he's a fucking Ghostbuster fanboy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I feel like there could have been more to him. He could have been real help, but the daughter was more of a scientist than he was.
Yeah, and I felt like they just used him as like where the daughter was being the scientist and that comedic relief in the beginning. I feel like Paul Rudd kind of took that from her and was just being the comic relief while she was doing all the scientist shit. If that makes sense. And yeah, I think they just played it too far, in my opinion. If they would have kept it a little bit more tamed, I think I would have gave them that pass. I think another thing about this movie is the pacing as well. I think pacing's a big issue with this movie. I could have probably said you could have cut out a few scenes of the movie and it still wouldn't have made a difference for me. But I think that was one of the big things.
A lot of it to me was that, well, for me it felt slow.
Okay.
I think that's what I think that's what you were probably getting at. I don't know if you were you meaning too fast or too slow.
Too slow.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
because I was like,
it kind of dragged on a few times.
Yeah, because there was a few moments where I was like, damn, like where's the next like action piece gonna be, you know? And like, I know that sounds bad, but in a Ghostbusters movie, you expect them to catch ghosts regardless of, you know, whatever, you know?
No, well, yes and no, because I understood where they were coming from. It's just there was a lot of dialogue, but nothing to wash it down with, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? And usually the action set pieces are something to wash it down with. And like, I understand why they didn't chase a lot of ghosts and stuff like that in this movie. But they could have washed it back with something else. We could have had something that kept us interested. In the beginning when they were doing the science experiments, I think that was keeping us interested. And then after that there's a whole middle spot where it's just nothing but exposition, and it's just, it drags. Yeah,
because they spend a good time. Fuck this. I'm spoilers, heavy spoilers. I can't tiptoe. I can't tiptoe because I suck at this shit.
Okay, kind of spoilery.
If I'm going in, I gotta go full in. I can't just tiptoe.
Okay, so, spoilery on this part. If you guys want to skip it,
skip a few minutes ahead.
Yeah,
up to y'all. But the whole thing where she's finding out that her grandfather is what's his name, Strickland or whatever. Mm-hmm. I thought that could have been shortened a little bit.
At the end? Or?
No, it was like toward the middle where she's like, where the ghost is like leading her, I guess, into the basement to find everything.
Yeah.
Like, I figured that could have been slower, like moved a little quicker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we understand she's smart, and it's cool that she was taught, quote unquote, taught how to fix the backpack, but I feel like that whole sequence could have been sped up. You know?
Yeah, they could have sped it up. I think the sequence was crucial because it was, you know, to show that, you know, how she learned. But yeah, it could have been sped up. There was a lot of, what? Like, she's supposed to be smart and she's taking her time, and I'm just like,
yeah, it's tough. Like, I know they set that up earlier too, and say that, you know, she doesn't believe in ghosts and whatnot, but you're technically playing chess with a ghost, so you should be catching on a lot quicker if you're that smart. You know?
I mean, at one point, he flicks your shit off the table. So, I mean, at that point, what else can a ghost do to you? Yeah. I mean, pacing wise, yeah, that was a big deal.
What I thought was dumb was that they released the creature
in the beginning.
No, yeah. When Paul Rudd is like, "Ooh, we found the trap. Let's open it," and I feel like that was kind of dumb. Like, I understand the curiosity, and, you know, he is a fanboy, and he was like, "Oh, let me see what it's like." But I feel like that was a cheap way to just move the plot forward because now you need something to happen.
I will agree with that, kind of, because when I was sitting there, I was like, "This is dumb. Like, why are you? You know what I mean? If you believe that this is a real box, why even try to open it? In my opinion, because you know what's inside. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I get curiosity kills the cat, and, you know, people check anyways. But like, I think that's just us not being able to suspend our disbelief and be like, somebody be that stupid to open that box. You know what I mean?
I would have believed it more if it was like damaged or something in it. Then it got out. But no, to open it purposefully and then it escaped, that felt kind of lazy to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say they did wash it down with comedy afterwards, so it didn't really get noticed too hard.
No, I noticed it.
Yeah.
But I mean, this movie didn't have a lot of comedy parts. You know, I know it shouldn't have kind of hard, but it made me laugh quite a bit. Like the scenes with the little marshmallow man. That was funny. Like they threw one in a blender. That shit was tough.
Yeah. There was a lot of comedy with it. Yeah,
it had a lot of funny moments. Damn. I was on a roll before I gave it praise. Yeah, no, because I didn't like how that shit happened. I didn't really like the dogs. I still can't really vibe with Wolfhard's character. I want to say there's one more thing that I can't think about, like, fully, like, comprehend it. Do you have anything else?
That I disliked about the movie, to be honest, I don't think there was a lot. I think it was just Paul Rudd acting too ruddy, and I think the pacing wise, other than that, I can't really think of bad things that happened with that. I enjoyed what the decisions that they made. Not really well, it will be a spoiler, so I'm not going to go too deep into it, but this movie kind of pays tribute to somebody, and I love that they did that. There was just, the fact that they paid tribute to it and kind of, I guess, were trying to paint him as the bad guy within the movie. I was like, well, I don't think that's completely fair to his character, though it does wrap up nicely, and I don't want to give too much away because I think it's a vital part within the movie. But I do think that they could have handled it a little bit better, but like I said, I just think it pays off though. I think
it does work very well because they try to paint him as the bad guy, and you're like, damn, I don't think that's what happened. At least for me, in my head, I was like, okay, yeah, it would make sense that this dude he kind of leaves and then goes on a mission to like save the world on his own or whatever, because that's kind of what his character was in the first one. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like he was nothing but like numbers and science, kind of like the granddaughter is. I think that kind of fit well, but yeah, painting him as the bad guy from the other members' perspective was kind of like a little weird.
Mm-hmm. Just a little bit, because you would assume that they would all be tight,
Mm-hmm.
Like, why wouldn't they listen to this man? Exactly. You know what I mean? And
especially if he was the one pushing the numbers and stuff.
Exactly. I was like, nah, I wouldn't have seen that happen, but I guess that's where, now that you bring it up, I guess that's where you can kind of see where, like, lazy to kind of push the plot forward, kind of like opening that the thing, right? Honestly, same thing with the part where they were trying to get that box out of jail, and the monster could have easily just flew away, you know what I mean? But yet
he stayed to eat the bars and stuff.
And conveniently helped them out, So I think there was a few scenes like that, even when they were out in that field testing their ecto packs or whatever, and all of a sudden it just so happened to be in you know what I mean?
Fucking nowhere.
Yeah. So I think there was a couple of those spots in there as well. Thinking about it now, where it was just kind of like,
this needs to happen
to make this happen and stuff. Yeah. It wasn't really like, oh, this pushed this forward. It was just more like some random thing pushed it forward, and I was like, okay, that's fine. And then that's where I think pacing issues come in, because I think they try to fill up the rest of the time with talking, and then eventually, I think the third act is phenomenal. To be honest, I think the third act really just makes you forgive everything else, and I think it wraps this movie up in a bow to a point where I personally don't think a sequel is needed. I think this would have made a amazing legacy sequel and just kind of leave it as is. But if this is if that's the route they want to go, I know the original cast is coming back for the next one, the one that was in this movie. So depending on how they handle it, it could be really good, or it could be another bad mess. Because honestly, I think they wrapped it up nicely.
Well, yeah, because I mean, like as far as legacy sequels go, this one did very well. Even with plot and characters involved, because even towards the end, another spoiler, but towards the end when they all come together, the OG crew, and you're like, damn, that's fucking cool. You know what I mean? And, they help save the day and whatnot. You're kind of like, damn, that was fucking tight.
Yeah. You can't even be mad at it. You're just like
that
woo.
was fucking nice. And like this movie does factor in the nostalgia heavily. You can't really fault it for that because I mean they're picking up basically however many years after the second or third one.
Yeah, they got to make you reinterested and make you be like, I remember that.
Give you new stuff, but not too new.
Yeah. Don't hate us.
Yeah, like that's kind of the thing with legacy sequels nowadays. How do we involve new characters without changing too much to keep that fan base keep coming through? And I think they cracked it with this one very well. Not Top Gun level, but they do very well in this one and to make it what it is. As for the next one, I hope that one comes out way better and there's a lot more ghosts in that one.
Yeah. I will say, though it is centered around Ghostbusters, the title is a little misleading in my opinion. That's just me, though.
Well, for the sequel?
Well, no, for this one.
Oh.
For Ghostbusters Afterlife, it's kind of misleading because it makes you feel, at least with me, when I first, and maybe that's why, it didn't do as magnificent as I would have thought a Ghostbusters sequel would have done, is that in the trailers, they played it heavily like, the Ghostbusters were going to be involved.
Mm-hmm.
And they really weren't. It was about Ghostbusters, obviously, but it wasn't really them on screen. And I think they kind of played heavy on that during the campaign to, obviously the marketing and whatever.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, after the movie, I was just like, they didn't need to name it Ghostbusters. There was no reason. They could have been like, oh, it's a Ghostbusters spinoff or something, you know what I mean, or whatever. But like, me personally, just a little bit of clickbaity for me.
Well, I don't know, because I think I understood the premise pretty much after the beginning, the entry point, because it's basically everything that's coming up after Homeboy's death. So you're just like, well, to me it made sense. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah. Well, the Afterlife part I understood. It was the Ghostbusters part.
He was a Ghostbuster.
I know, but you didn't see a lot of Ghostbustering in this one.
Seeing the car again was really nice.
I know. I think that was one of the nostalgia strings that they pulled on me really hard. When I seen it going through the field, I was like, I think they put out a trailer and it had that scene in there, and I was just like, I think that was the scene that really cemented it for me. And they put it right at the tail end too, because I was like, during the trailer I was like, and then right at the end I was just like,
That'll do it.
Yep.
Give me that Ghostbusters car. I mean, other than that, no real problems. I think it wrapped up nicely in a bow, and then could enter in the sequel. Hopefully it does do better, because I mean, the way it kind of ended, it showed New York again.
At the end, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe the sequel does take place back in New York.
Sony wound up confirming at CinemaCon that it will be going back to New York.
Oh, there you go. Damn. Way to fuck it up. No, but I'm just kidding. Hopefully it does good. I can't be too mad, because that's kind of where everything happens.
Like I said, they wrapped it really nice in a bow. Like every single loose end, they kind of tied it. So it's kind of like, what can they possibly do? They're gonna have to. That's what I'm just afraid of the sequel, and this is the only thing that I'm afraid of when it comes to like these. I'm assuming they mistook this and they were like, hey, this is just another sequel and we could potentially make more. But I think Rittman as a director was like, no, this is the legacy sequel that everybody wants, kind of like Maverick and stuff like that. This is
one and done.
Exactly, and I think he tied it up really well. And then when Sony seen how much numbers it did, that it actually pulled in. Because I think when it first opened up, I think the projections were low for it because of what happened in 2014. And then it wound up, word of mouth went around, and people actually, I think the tail end is when the box office really came in.
Yeah.
And then overseas as well. And and then after that, that's when it was a wrap. But I was just like, no, it's gonna be interesting what they do with the sequel, but I think this one wrapped it up with, everything that the franchise had to give, and then on top of that, the nostalgia factor that they really put into this. Like, I think they really tied it up really well, and I think people who were fans of the original would be a fan of this one and really just link it up and be like, this is a happy way to end.
Yeah.
And even when they showed New York at the very end, I was like, this is a nice way of
going out.
Yeah, going out. Like, this is great. So I am excited for a sequel because Ghostbusters, but at the same time, I'm like, well,
where can they take it?
Yeah.
Because basically, with the way they set up stakes in this one, it felt very like do or die, and obviously, if they're preparing for a sequel, and we just told you they're wrapping up for a bun, it ends kind of well. So, where can they go for that sequel?
I was gonna during the movie, I was gonna make a joke, but I was like, I'm gonna save it for this. It's because there's one scene where like you see the wall and it has all the event dates of like what happened before. Like they have a bunch of random numbers before, and then they have the New York date from both times, and then it goes all the way to 2021 where they're at. And I was just like, oh, so the camera's gonna stop there? We're not gonna see if there's more sequels down the line? I was like, what the fuck? Why'd you guys do that? I think that was one thing that took me out. I was just like, we're not gonna see if you guys have more planned, like 2025.
Nah, man, no.
Firehouse.
Those haven't been made yet.
They're like, the timeline stops here.
They're gonna go back and they're gonna like God of War it. They're gonna be like, it was under here.
Yeah, right. A flashback scene.
Yeah.
They're just gonna kind of. There it is.
yeah. They haven't been made yet, man.
The camera moves pans to the right just a smidgen, and there it is.
Because if the movie did bad, they would have been like, whoa, there you go. That was the end of it.
Yep. The legacy's over. Man, oh man. So with that being said, so we gave it all the praises, we gave it all the bads, Josh. 1 to 10, man. What would you rate this movie?
I'd, with everything involved, characters and all, story, nostalgia kicked in, I want to give it like a 7.5. It could have done better. Like I said, it could have totally benefited from more ghost catching and better pacing and stuff. But I think for what we got, this is like a very solid legacy sequel. I think 7.5 is where I gotta put it.
Okay, I gotta say you're giving it a little too low in my opinion. I gotta give it an 8.5. I gotta give it just.
I thought about giving it an 8, but I was like, I don't know. I can't forgive it too much.
I honestly, I think that this movie pulled on my nostalgia factor to that point where I can forgive it a little bit more. Like a lot of dumb decisions I can chalk up to, curiosity and shit like that, and I'll just be like, that's fine. You guys gave me fucking ectopacks again. You know what I mean? Like, that's cool. Yeah. Like, the gun, the little gun shit was very nice. The mobile, the villain, the main villain reveal was crazy because I never thought that they would have done some shit like that. And I don't want to give too much away because I think it's a big plot point. But I think they did so much good with that nostalgia and everything. There's some stuff that I could chalk up. CGI, I really enjoyed the CGI and seeing the streams again from the ectopacks and everything. I think they did phenomenal. The ghost blorb and everything. I could chalk some stuff up away, but there's some things I couldn't forgive, and so I got to give it an 8.5. I would say. That's fair. Highly recommend, though. Highly recommend at least a watch. And then you guys formulate your own opinion, and you guys figure that out from there, right?
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
Let us know what you guys thought about Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yeah, if you guys seen it. And then, if there's any other movies that you guys want us to review, anything that we should have brought up during this review, but we didn't, and you guys want to hear somewhere else, I don't know, in a different episode. Any ideas for any episodes that you guys want to hear from us, anything you guys want us to react to, Josh, let them know where they can let us know.
Twitter, TikTok, Instagram at FIlmBros Podcast. We post when new episodes are up. You can hit us up there for anything you want us to cover. If you want to listen to us on the go, Spotify and Apple Podcasts at FIlmBros Podcast. If you want to support us, Buzzsprout, all our links are in our bios and the social medias I just listed, which are Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, again at FIlmBros Podcast. And then go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube at FIlmBros Podcast.
Yes. Subscribe, like, hit the notification bell on YouTube. YouTube now has a podcast section on their YouTube Music and YouTube, so we will be making our rounds to putting them on there as well. If you guys are tired of using Spotify, if you guys pay for YouTube Music and you guys are like, well, why aren't you guys on YouTube Music? We're going to get there. So with that, we'll talk to you guys on the next one.
Talk to you guys later.